What is the red heifer? What is the red heifer in the third temple? What does this mean? Okay, guys, it's a exciting time we're living in. We're doing so much content and information and messages about the third temple. And then, of course, a lot of things are circulating about the red heifer. What is it? You may have even more questions after this, but that's okay. We have other videos where we've covered the subject of the offering of the red heifer. Now, what is the red heifer? The red heifer is an offering found in Numbers chapter 19. To look at that offering in context, the children of Israel are about to enter the promised land after wandering the wilderness, and then Aaron and Miriam and the rest are going to die off, and then Joshua is going to lead them into the promised land. And during that time, when they're wandering in the wilderness, God institutes this offering called the red heifer. We're going to see exactly what it is and why this was instituted for the children of Israel, because it's an offering for the golden calf. We're going to see that very, very clearly. It's an offering to cleanse the people from the idolatry of the golden calf. And for the end times in the book of Revelation, it's an offering that is speaking of the destruction of the harlot, Mystery Babylon. So we're going to go into not so much Mystery Babylon, because we've covered that in another video, which I encourage you to watch. But in this one, we are going to talk about the red heifer and the history of how it was a offering to cleanse from the golden calf. All right, so let's first talk about this offering as it relates to Christ. Okay, and we know in the book of Hebrews, many of the things that were types and shadows have been fulfilled through Christ, including the red heifer. Okay, well, not the red heifer itself, but the blood of the heifer. Hebrews 9:13. If the blood of bulls and goats and the ashes of a heifer, sprinkling the unclean, sanctifying to the purifying the flesh, how much more shall the blood of Christ? Okay, so it's speaking of these various offerings and being very specific of the ashes of the heifer for the sprinkling and sanctification of the people. And that's what it says there in Numbers chapter 19. For time's sake, we're not going to read it, but we know that Christ was our sacrifice, okay? It is his blood that cleanses. We also find a heifer offered by Abram, okay? Genesis 15:10, Abram took a heifer, a she-goat, a ram, and divided them in the midst, and laid the pieces one upon another. All right, and guys, that's what the Abraham, his sacrifice, what he did here in Genesis 15. He also set up an altar in Bethel. Okay, now let's talk about Bethel and Dan and the golden calves. So we can see that Abram offered a heifer. Okay, we also find later that he called upon the name of Yahweh at a place called Bethel and set up there an altar. Okay, so this is an altar. We actually know where this is. Okay, but what happened is, Satan stirred the people to put a golden calf in this same place. I mean, this was shocking to me. I knew this story vaguely. Okay, the children of Israel set up golden calves again, and, okay, whatever. But I was traveling, I was divinely led to this place in the north called Dan, and it's a whole park. And the park is the location where one of the golden calves were. I was shocked. I was like, you mean this whole thing is standing there? The whole detail and description, everything is there. I have a video on it, okay? And I'm just like, I can't believe this. This whole place is here. It's a secondary Jerusalem, a secondary temple. Everything is there, including this altar. Now, the full altar isn't there. It was demolished. We're going to go through the details, but I was just like, I can't believe this. I was astonished to find it, okay? So that's up in the north of Israel, very close to the Golan Heights. We're going to talk about the Golan Heights. Of course, the Golan Heights is significant because they have some more heifers. They're being raised, and they have announced that they're in the Golan Heights. Okay? So, of course, we're watching in the news this red heifer as an end times concept, surely. But what does it mean? Guys, with all these things, you have to ask yourself, what does it mean? Okay? It's not just external things that must happen, like it's some movie. Yes, these prophecies will happen. But you have to take them to heart, because we can see that the same things the children of Israel did, the people are in the same apostasy today. Okay, nothing has changed. But what do we have? We have, okay, let's talk about the history. Okay, because I studied this, and I was just like, I can't believe they set up golden calves a second time. So what happened is this. You have Solomon, right? Solomon already becomes apostate. He has a son, Rehoboam. Okay, so he reigns in Judah, and the kingdoms are split. And the Israel, the northern kingdom, has a king called Jeroboam. Okay, so this is Solomon's son, and this is Jeroboam. The two are contemporaries. Okay, you got the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. This guy, Jeroboam, sets up this alternative temple. He sets up a whole religious system contrary to the one in Jerusalem, because he doesn't want the people in Israel and the northern kingdoms and the 10 tribes to go south to Jerusalem. So he gives them 2 points in the northern tribes where they can go. One is in the north called Dan with a golden calf. One is the southern portion in Ephraim or Bethel. So he sets up the second golden calf, guys, in Bethel, in the same exact place where Abraham set up an altar to Yahweh. I mean, if that's not Satan and devils, and it actually says it's devils that did this. So this is how far this is. Now, guys, these golden calves, whatever these altars are, they were known. They were in existence for hundreds of years. It's hundreds of years later, and it's not until Josiah. Well, remember we saw the seal of Nathan Melech, right? Well, that seal, Nathan Melech, is at the same time of Josiah, who's cleansing the altar in Bethel. For what? The golden calf. Oh my goodness. Guys, we got to read this. This story is just so crazy. I'm just astonished every time I look at it. That this is just this story that we just, I don't know. Have we? Is it just passes by our thinking? We don't think, it's not a big deal. I mean, this is unbelievable. Okay, like I said, we got these two guys. They're both just one generation after Solomon, 3 generations after David in the temple. Already we have the golden calf. Okay, let's go. 1 Kings 12. Jeroboam said in his heart, now shall the kingdom return to the house of David. If this people go to sacrifice in the house of the Lord in Jerusalem, then shall the heart of the people turn again to the Lord. And he said, we can't have the people turn to the Lord. Let's set up some golden calves. No. Whereupon the king took counsel and made 2 calves of gold and said unto them, is it much for you to go to Jerusalem? Behold, the gods, O Israel, which brought you out of the land of Egypt. He even says the same thing. And he set up one in Bethel, and the other he set up in Dan. And the thing became a sin. No kidding. And now, watch this. Jeroboam ordained a feast in the 8th month and 15th day, like the feast in Judah. He offered upon this altar, in Bethel, and sacrificed to the calves. So he's sacrificing, guys, to other gods, to demons. All right? So that's already we got this problem on the scene. Now I'm going to go through these verses. Let's go to 2 Kings chapter 10, and we'll see the same thing. We're gonna read all the accounts of this. You have to see this because it's just so crazy. Okay, and this is Jehu. Okay, he destroyed Baal out of Israel. Verse 29, howbeit the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin, Jehu departed not from them, and the golden calves that were in Bethel and in Dan. Okay, this was known to the people. This was going on. Hundreds of years, these things were still there. Okay, and let's go 2 Kings. We're going to read all these accounts, guys. 17. Okay, 17 verse 16. And, okay, all right, let's go to 15. And they rejected his statutes and covenant and made with their fathers and testimonies which he had testified against them, and they followed vanity, became van, and went after the heathen round about, concerning all the Lord had charged them to do, they should not do them. And they left all the commandments of the Lord, the God, made molten images and 2 calves, and made a grove, and worshiped the host of heaven, and served Baal. Okay, so you always have the host of heaven in with this, and Baal. All right, let's go to 2 Chronicles 15. This thing is all over the place in the scriptures, guys. 2 Chronicles chapter 11, verse 15. And he ordained him priests in high places for the devils. Let me say that again. He ordained him priests for the high places and for the devils and for the calves which he made. Okay, this is this guy. Okay, Jeroboam. This is talking about him. Okay, and then 2 Chronicles 13:8. And now think you withstand the kingdom of the Lord in the hand of the sons of David. Be you a great multitude. They are with you golden calves which Jeroboam made to be gods. Okay, now this is the thing. Now, for all of you Christians that, give the Jews a hard time and say, oh, the Jews are, apostate. Now, the Christians are apostate too. All right? That's what this is talking about. The great multitude. The great multitude is Dan and Ephraim. They made the golden calves in Dan and Ephraim. Bethel is location is in Ephraim, the tribe of Ephraim. Okay, Dan is obviously Dan. So these things are types and shadows of Christians, because the 144,000 do not have Dan and Ephraim. Why? Because they've purged the leaven of Herod, the leaven of the Pharisees, the harlot. Okay, they've purged themselves of this, but the great multitude hasn't. Most of you watching this are the great multitude, and you got idols in your heart. Okay, but you get mad at me because I say that. I'm just telling you guys. You're about to see real quick. But there we go. He sacrificed them to devils. Unbelievable. So what? Okay. So God knew this. The children of Israel set up a golden calf in the wilderness, right? You guys have all seen Charlton Heston and all that. Oh, they did it again. And God knew they would do it again. So he instituted this offering called the red heifer. So the red heifer is what they must do to cleanse themselves. Okay. So it appears that the thinking in the Rabbinic Judaism is that the temple must be standing. Okay. Now, it is not necessary to have the temple to do offerings. All they need is an altar. Okay. They only need an altar to do sacrifices. They don't need a temple to do sacrifices. However, my understanding, I may not be 100% on this because it's just not scriptural. It's just Rabbinic Judaism, which I don't read much of, says that the red heifer, and there may be different views on this as well, but the red heifer is offered only when the temple is there. Okay, so we'll just watch. We don't know. But we're watching this whole heifer thing, right? So this is an offering for the golden calf. And let's remember what they did. When the Jews are in the children of Israel, what they do, they took their jewelry, they took their earrings, they took their jewelry, and they melted the gold of it and said, look, here we have a golden calf. Another thing that's amazing about our present time, there's recent discoveries, guys, that they found pictures of Mount Sinai in Arabia that is not just, you may have seen the golden calf altar where they've etched the cows. Well, there's some locations where they actually have red paint that has survived to this day, which is clearly Egyptian style. When the children of Israel were there, they painted red cows on the wall that exists to this day. And the people that are going and discovering are now releasing some of this new information. Why? Because it's the red heifer. The golden calf altar, can you believe it? It's still there. It's still there in the base of Mount Sinai. It's still there in Dan and Bethel. I believe Josiah really leveled that one. Okay. I don't know if there's much there remaining. I have not been to that site. Okay. But what do we have? Then God says, you have to offer this red heifer because of this idol, this wickedness. Okay. And again, when we saw this seal of Nathan Melech, he is in the chambers of the king's house. And it said, this altar which is in Bethel in the high place, which Jeroboam set up. Okay. They broke the altar in the high place and burned the high place and stamped it with powder and burned it to the grove. So he takes the powder and the ashes of all that stuff and he throws it in the Kidron Valley. Okay. Amazing. But that wasn't enough. It was too late. This thing existed for hundreds of years, guys. Now, let's look at the prophets speaking about the red heifer and what it means. Okay. So we're going to go through Hosea. In Hosea chapter 4, okay, there's amazing prophecy here, guys. This is speaking to our day. I can only hope that you just understand and get this. Okay, what's Hosea 4? And let's read a bunch of this, just so you understand the prophetic message of what God is saying when he's bringing judgments. Hosea 11. Whoredom and wine, new wine, take away from the heart. My people ask counsel of their stocks, and their staff declareth unto them, for the spirit of whoredoms has caused them to error. They have gone whoring from under their God. Your daughters commit whoredom. Your spouses commit adultery. So you always have sexual immorality when you have the golden calf, guys. You guys got this all in your families. I will not punish your daughters, and they will commit whoredom, nor your spouses when they commit adultery, for themselves are separated with whores, and they sacrifice with harlots. Therefore the people do not understand shall fall. Okay, so I'm telling you, judgment's coming. So what do we got? Adultery, whores, harlots. And thou, O Israel, play the harlot, yet not Judah offended. Come not unto Gilgal, neither go to Bethaven, nor swear, the Lord liveth. For Israel slides back as a backsliding heifer. Now the Lord will feed them as a lamb in a large place. What's the lamb? Passover. We're in Passover season, okay? So it may be this type of season when they do this red heifer. Ephraim is joined to idols, let him be alone, okay? So apostasy is attributed to Ephraim. That's why they're not 144,000. And here you can see Israel slides back as a backsliding heifer. Now, guys, this is many of you, like I said, many of you are talking about the Jews. Oh, the Jews. The Christians are doing the same thing. You're also apostate. All right. You also have idols. All right. You also are not ready for the Lord. You're about to find out of all your, being in bed with the harlot and you Jezebels and all your witchcraft. Well, you're about to see real quick, because the Lord is coming and he's not pleased with the things that he sees. So what do we got right here? Backsliding heifer, playing the harlot. It's the same thing. You saw it in the Exodus. You saw it 3 generations after David, okay? And the same thing, the early church. By the time of the Council of Nicaea, the church is already apostate. All right? Same thing. Now, let's keep going through Hosea, because in Hosea chapter 8, verse 5, O heifer, O Samaria, has cast off mine anger, is kindled against you. How long will you ear to attain innocency? For from Israel was it the workman that made thereof, and not of God, the calf, the heifer of Samaria. What do we have? We have 2 heifers of Samaria. Verse 5, your heifer of, O Samaria. Verse 6, the heifer of Samaria shall be broken in pieces. See that? So this is what the ashes are. So when you offer the red heifer, Moses took the cow and ground it into powder. Okay? The same thing. Josiah took the ashes, ground it into powder. Okay? The red heifer, the same thing. You take the ashes. You take the ashes of it. Okay? And it's broken in pieces. All right? And let's go down to verse 11. Because Ephraim has made many altars to sin, altars shall be unto him for sin. Okay? And well, we'll look at 14 real quick. For Israel has forgotten their maker, and they build temples. Okay, we're showing you those temples. The synagogue, hidden synagogue, and then the different facilities of the third temple that they're building. All right? But it's unto the golden calf. Let's go to Hosea chapter 10. Let's look at this. This is live, guys. Watch this. Hosea 10:4. They have spoken words, swearing falsely and making a covenant. Making a covenant. We have all this stuff talking about the peace deal, right? This judgment brings up as gal or wormwood. And wormwood is the third trumpet. The inhabitants of Samaria shall fear because of the heifer of Bethaven. Bethaven is just a little north of the site. For the people thereof shall mourn over it. The priests thereof shall rejoice over it for the glory thereof, because it is departed. Okay, let's go to verse 8. The high places of Haven, the sin of Israel, shall be destroyed. The thorn and the thistle shall come upon their altars. Verse 11. Ephraim is a heifer, and is taught that love is to tread out the corn, and I passed upon her fair neck. I will make Ephraim to ride, Judah shall plow, Jacob shall break up the clods. Okay, so this is the heifer. This is speaking of the prophecy of the heifer. We have the covenant. Okay, we have the altars. So all these prophecies are the red heifer, guys. Now let's keep going to Amos chapter 4. And I will put notes of all the verses and everything I'm reading to you. Hear this word, O you heifer of Bashan, that are in the mountain of Samaria, which oppress the poor and the needy. Okay? Come to, verse 4, come to Bethel and transgress. Gilgal, multiply transgression. Bring your sacrifices every morning and your tithes after 3 years. And offer a sacrifice of thanksgiving with leaven. Okay? So that the leaven is the harlot. The harlot puts her leaven and it puffs up. That's why we eat unleavened bread and Passover, to get the leaven out. The leaven is an internal thing, guys. It's not what you eat. It's not the bread. It's the doctrines. Okay? So this is going on. I mean, this is live. This is the red heifers are being grown in Bashan. Bashan is the Golan Heights. It's that north region. Bashan, it's also called Hamath. Okay? And guys, this is, the red heifer is related to what's going on in the north there. Look, Trump knows this stuff, guys. That he's purposefully announcing the U.S. recognition of the Golan Heights. Okay? Well, the red heifers are up there. You know, Syria's not going to take the Golan Heights, guys. If anything, the boundaries are going to expand, because the prophecy's got to be fulfilled. These red heifers got to happen. Okay? The word of God must be fulfilled. Okay? So let's see. Amos and the offering sacrifice. Yep. All right, we got that one. Okay, we talk about Hosea, I'll mention this in passing, but in Isaiah 15:5 and Jeremiah 48:34, it talks about the heifer of 3 years old. Okay, so those are the criterias of the red heifer. Okay, I have another note here. I'm just going to read this. It's according to the Migdot 2.3, the high priest that burns the red heifer stands on the Mount of Olives and should be able to look directly into the entry of the sanctuary when the blood is sprinkled. This then is confirmation of the orientation of the temple, because they should be able to see right into the Holy of Holies from the Mount of Olives. Interesting. Okay. So guys, the red heifer is the harlot. The red heifer is the judgment of Mystery Babylon. We got another video on that. For time's sake, we're not going to go into it. We're going into the live prophecies of the minor prophets that teach us about the abominations of the golden calf. The golden calf is still in the hearts of the people. Of course, it's on Wall Street and obvious places, but it's in less obvious places, expressed through idols and idolatry. So guys, this is part of our playlist on the third temple. The red heifer is a critical aspect of the third temple. Please watch the other videos, because there's a lot of aspects of what is going on. And as I always say, watch and pray that you be counted worthy to escape all these things